In 1917, following the end of World War I, Finland gained independence from Russia. But the relationship between the two nations remained frosty. The Soviet Union backed communist revolutionary forces within Finland with the aim of overthrowing the Finnish government, while Finland, in turn, boasted its ties with Western countries and established defensive fortifications oriented towards the Soviet direction, all of which served to heighten mutual distrust. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, out of strategic considerations for national security, perceived that the Finnish border posed a direct threat to Leningrad, the USSR's second-largest city. Seeking to expand its strategic defensive perimeter, particularly given the World War II rise and expansion of Germany, the Soviet Union was urgently in need of establishing a buffer zone along its western frontier to safeguard its core regions against potential attacks from the west. In 1939, the Soviet Union presented territorial concession demands to Finland, which included the cession of parts of the Karelian Isthmus region and the leasing of the Hanko Peninsula for use as a naval base, in exchange for certain areas of Soviet land. Finland refused to accept these stringent terms, considering them a severe infringement on its sovereignty and national security. In order to manufacture a pretext for war, the Soviet Union claimed that Finnish forces had shelled Soviet territory near the village of Mainila, and used this as grounds to demand an apology from Finland and compliance with its territorial demands. Finland denied the allegations and refused to satisfy the Soviet requests, which led to a further deterioration of relations between the two countries. In the early stages of the war, the Finnish army was forced to implement a stringent rationing system, under which soldiers were often equipped with extremely rudimentary gear. Some soldiers received only basic cold weather clothing items such as hats or socks, while weapons were severely lacking. It was common for two soldiers to share a single rifle, and the ammunition supply for each rifle was also highly constrained, with sometimes only about 15 rounds allocated between the two guns. Such conditions were undoubtedly disadvantageous in practical combat situations. Prior to entering into battles, Finnish soldiers commonly expressed grievances regarding the persistent issue of inadequate supplies and equipment. At the onset of the Winter War, the Finnish armed forces widely employed Mosin-Nagant rifles, notably in the early phases of the war, where numerous Finnish soldiers were equipped with Mosin-Nagant rifles that they had inherited from the period of the Russian Empire. The Suomi M1931 submachine gun, however, stood out as one of the signature arms of the Finnish military. It gained fame for its outstanding reliability and dense firepower, especially in frigid environments, and was affectionately referred to as the Finnish war machine. The Finnish military organization did not mirror the vast scale of the Soviet Red Army. Before the outbreak of hostilities, Finland's regular army was relatively small in size. However, upon the commencement of the war, there was a rapid nationwide mobilization. Following this mobilization, the Finnish armed forces grew to approximately 300,000 personnel, inclusive of reservists. The army primarily consisted of several divisions, including infantry divisions, ski battalions, and a limited number of cavalry units. The fundamental tactical unit within the Finnish military was the company, typically composed of 3 platoons, with each platoon likely being smaller in number compared to those found in the Soviet Red Army. The Finnish military placed great emphasis on the agility of light infantry and ski troops, leveraging their expertise in exploiting terrain advantages to conduct mobile defense maneuvers. Notably, Finland boasted a renowned sniper corps that played a pivotal role during the conflict, demonstrating impressive training standards and accomplishments. Additionally, the Finnish forces were equipped with various types of mortars, light and medium artillery pieces, as well as a limited number of anti-aircraft and anti-tank guns. On November 30th, 1939, the Soviet Union launched a comprehensive military operation against Finland, marking the beginning of the Winter War. In the early hours of that day, without declaring war, the Soviet Red Army advanced across the Finnish border according to pre-planned maneuvers. Over 450,000 Soviet troops were amassed, aiming to swiftly occupy key strategic locations in Finland in order to compel the Finnish government to surrender. In the upcoming series of videos, I will be using military simulations to illustrate the intricacies of the small-scale engagements during the Soviet-Finnish conflict.
Päästävät pois. Sen niissä neuvottelussa pääsee sopimukseen.